Well, good morning. We are just about halfway through this Axe the Carbon Tax voting marathon. And it's a little bit after 10 o'clock, so we have successfully killed a day of government business. This is one less day that Justin Trudeau will have to implement his destructive agenda that is dividing Canadians and driving up prices, and of course his plan to quadruple the carbon tax. That's what this is all about. The carbon tax is really hurting Canadian families as we head into the Christmas season. More and more Canadians are experiencing the tragic choice of heating their homes or putting food on their tables. And a recent food price report has indicated that next year families are going to have to pay another $700 for groceries. And that's on top of all the higher prices that Justin Trudeau's inflationary deficits and, of course, his carbon tax have caused. So that's what this fight is all about. And Justin Trudeau can end it all. He can stop this right now if he chooses to listen to Canadians, axe the tax off of farmers, families, and First Nations. There is no question that the carbon tax is a big reason for grocery store price increases. And only Conservatives are fighting to take the tax off the farmers who grow the food, the truckers who transport the food, so that Canadians can afford a better Christmas meal. And I'm happy to take your questions about
So you're
today.
halfway through this process. Do you see
Things
like
the Montreal Holocaust Museum and Canada's NATO mission. Why did you vote against those?
We're voting against Justin Trudeau's economic agenda, the same agenda that has caused record high inflation and massive and rapid interest rate hikes. We are voting against the budget. We're just doing it a little bit of a different way this time to highlight the fact that Justin Trudeau is going to radically increase the carbon tax, and we are going to keep doing this until he listens to Canadians and axes the tax.
Are you expected to go all night? You mentioned that you lost a day already. So are you willing to just go home now, or are you going to go through all the votes?
We are going to keep doing this. The purpose of this, as you heard our leader Pierre Poilievre say the other day, was to do everything we can to hold up Justin Trudeau's destructive agenda. And if he wants to get out of Ottawa, get out of town early, he's going to have to listen to us and take the tax off. I'm just going to, je vais donner la parole à mon collègue pour adresser. I'm going to give the microphone to my colleague so he can deliver some remarks in French, and I'm happy to take some more questions after that.
Monsieur Berthold,
He's going to make some comments.
Bon, je veux juste commencer en vous disant qu'on est à la moitié de notre marathon pour abolir la taxe carbone. On a encore beaucoup à faire et le seul responsable de la situation dans laquelle on est aujourd'hui, qui a forcé le gouvernement à abandonner ses travaux quotidiens aujourd'hui, c'est une victoire pour nous parce qu'on a réussi à retarder l'agenda destructeur de Justin Trudeau d'une journée. Et le seul qui peut arrêter ça, c'est Justin Trudeau lui-même en décidant aujourd'hui d'annoncer qu'il va abolir la taxe carbone qui cause tant de dommages sur les familles canadiennes. On l'a vu dans les médias au cours des dernières semaines. On a eu le rapport sur l'état de la situation alimentaire au Canada. L'an prochain, les familles canadiennes vont payer 700 $ de plus en moyenne pour leur épicerie. Le prix de tout va augmenter. Depuis 3 ans, le prix de la nourriture a augmenté de 23 % et la bonne idée de Justin Trudeau, c'est de quadrupler la taxe carbone au cours des prochaines années. Ça n'a pas de bon sens. Le gros bon sens conservateur veut que nous abolissions la taxe carbone sur les familles, les fermiers et sur les Premières Nations. Et tant ou aussi longtemps que Justin Trudeau ne prendra pas cette décision, nous allons continuer de ce marathon de vote pour abolir la taxe carbone. Il peut le faire. Il peut le faire pour le bien des familles canadiennes, il peut le faire pour les jeunes enfants, comme ce jeune qui a demandé une carte cadeau à Noël, au Père Noël, pour pouvoir s'offrir un bon repas. Donc, on est là pour ça et on va continuer à lutter pour jusqu'à ce que Justin Trudeau fasse la chose qui est juste.
Quelle est votre légitimité de prendre en otage cette institution alors que la majorité des Canadiens ont voté pour des partis qui acceptent ou qui sont en faveur de la taxe carbone?
Justin Trudeau prend présentement l'ensemble des Canadiens en otage en les forçant à un nombre incroyable d'aller dans les banques alimentaires. 2 millions de Canadiens par mois vont dans les banques alimentaires. Justin Trudeau peut faire quelque chose pour soulager ces familles-là. Il peut abolir immédiatement la taxe et ça va immédiatement avoir un effet sur l'ensemble des familles canadiennes. Donc, ce qu'on fait aujourd'hui, c'est effectivement demander à Justin Trudeau de faire la chose qui est juste.
La majorité des Canadiens ont voté pour des partis qui supportent la taxe carbone, comme mon collègue vous le dit.
Quand vous dites on représente, on travaille pour la majorité des Canadiens, pouvez-vous reconnaître à tout le moins que ça, c'est faux? Vous travaillez pour faire passer votre idée, essentiellement, là.
On travaille parce qu'il y a des mères de famille qui ne sont pas capables de chauffer leur maison. On travaille parce qu'il y a des mères de famille qui doivent diminuer la qualité de la nourriture qu'ils offrent à leurs enfants. On travaille parce qu'il y a des parents qui ne sont pas capables d'aller dans des activités parce qu'ils ne sont pas capables de payer l'essence pour aller dans ces activités-là. C'est pour ces Canadiens-là qu'on travaille, c'est pour les Canadiens qui veulent qu'on fasse quelque chose immédiatement pour eux. Pas dans 2 ans, pas dans 3 ans, pas dans 4 ans. On veut agir maintenant. Et la façon de le faire, Justin Trudeau a entre les mains la façon d'arrêter tout ça et de soulager les familles canadiennes, c'est d'abolir la taxe carbone.
There are a lot of people, though, who say that politics has become too partisan and they just want politicians to work together. What do you say to those people when they see you today pushing the parliamentary agenda aside?
We are working hard, and we'd love to work together with other parties. It's just that they are ideologically committed to a failed carbon tax. And when you hear stories, when I go back to my constituency and I talk to my neighbors and friends, and you hear some heart-wrenching stories. How many of us have been in a grocery store where we've seen someone pick up a cut of meat, maybe a roast, and they look at it for sometimes 10, 15 seconds, and the saddest thing is watching them put it back, and you know they can't afford it. These are people with jobs, going to food banks, watering down milk. That's what this is about. So this can all end as soon as Justin Trudeau decides to listen to Canadians, back down from his egotistical position, and axe the tax.
Trudeau has made it clear he's not going to axe the tax. You've been clear you want to axe the tax. So what do you actually get out of this? Is it just proving to the Liberals or Canadians that you can disrupt the agenda if you want to?
It's, we've seen Justin Trudeau when he faces enough pressure, flip-flop and back down. He was facing a caucus that was revolting because of the pressure that they were hearing from their voters on home heating. This is part of that, putting that pressure on Justin Trudeau to highlight for Canadians that this fight is happening, that we are on their side, and we are going to do everything we can to axe the tax. And if Justin Trudeau wants to get anything else passed with any kind of cooperation from other parties, in our case, he's going to have to axe the tax to provide that relief for Canadians. That's what I was going to go to.
We heard that you were eating chicken sandwiches from McDonald's last night. What about 100% Alberta beef patties from McDonald's? Was that on the menu?
Rest assured, I consumed a lot of Alberta beef last night, and it wasn't just the chicken.
Andrew, if I can just ask you this. It's a bit inconvenient in that your party campaigned in favor of carbon pricing in the last election, and not only that, you won the popular vote. Canadians looked to your party and said, I like that idea the Conservatives have of pricing carbon, and you won the popular vote. So why the flip-flop?
Well, we did receive even more votes in 2019 when we had the position we had in that election. We've always opposed Justin Trudeau's carbon tax. This carbon tax is failing, and it's also important for Canadians to understand. Justin Trudeau is not just going to leave the carbon tax where it is. The choice for Canadians in the next election is his plan to quadruple the carbon tax, even higher grocery prices, even higher home heating prices. Or Pierre's common sense Conservative plan, which will provide relief for Canadians by axing the tax, reducing deficits to bring down inflation and interest rates. That's going to be the choice.
The other question I have for you as the House Leader, just as this, is you're conducting yourselves, and this is a procedure you can filibuster away, but in other committees, your MPs, I don't know what control you have over them, behaving badly, Damien Kirk getting kicked out, Rachel Thomas asking people to speak English. Do you have any control of the decorum of MPs in committees? Look like you're conducting yourselves well here, but not so sure about elsewhere in this precinct.
I reject the premise of that question. We are always fighting for Canadians, and we always have to deal with the dynamic at committees and in the House, but we're always doing so in a professional way, debating the ideas, debating the issues, and highlighting the fact that only Conservatives are on the side of working Canadians, fighting to axe the tax, to bring down grocery prices so Canadians can put food on their table this Christmas.
Vous proposez d'abolir la taxe sur le carbone, mais on ne connaît toujours pas votre plan.